A frantic alien boy bursts into the bustling spaceport, his small hands coated in his mother's shimmering blood. Hundreds hear his scream, but fear and indifference freeze them in place. Everyone except one lone human medic. Racing against an unknown toxin and a ticking planetary quarantine, he gambles his own life to save hers. In the next breath, compassion must outpace catastrophe, or an entire world will watch a child lose everything. Torin Delta 43 bustled like every frontier hub on the outskirt rings, loud, metallic, and indifferent. Cargo drones skimmed overhead, hissing hydraulic lines venting vapor that smelled of ozone and hot coolant. Vendors shouted in half a dozen tongues, hawking nutrient packs, antique weapon replicas, even black market spliced genes for thrill seekers with more credits than caution. Amid the clamor, nobody noticed the slender Chkora boy weaving through the crowd until he screamed. It wasn't a normal child's cry, it cut through conversation like a sonic blade. His tritonal voice, common to Chkora youth before their vocal cords fused in adolescence, rang out in overlapping harmony, "Please. My mother won't wake up." His skin, translucent jade veined with pale gold, was slick with a quicksilver liquid the humans quickly recognized as Chkora blood plasma. The boy's small hands trembled as he waved an emergency medical voucher printed on flimsy biopaper. Hundreds looked, then just as quickly looked away. People on Torin had learned caution costs less than compassion. Stepping into another species' emergency could mean quarantine fees, liability writs, or worse, cross-caste politics with the powerful Chkora matriarchies. Except for one person. Dr. Elias Hart, once a combat medic in the Terran fleet, now an itinerant free clinic physician, paused in mid-stride outside the shuttle departures. He saw the boy collapse to his knees, clutching the voucher like a lifeline. Elias's pulse spiked, old training overriding hesitation. He knelt beside the child. "Easy, kid. Where's your mother?" The boy's three-tone voice warbled with panic. "Docking Bay C-17. She just fell. She's cold, she's blue, her heart's," he hiccuped, tears beating like liquid crystal on his cheeks. Chkora possessed two asynchronous hearts. If one stopped, the other could sustain life only minutes. Elias slipped an interpreter earbud in, but the boy's standard was good enough. "Name?" Elias asked. "I'm Koleth," the child managed. "Koleth Viner. Please hurry." Elias tapped his wristpad, sending an emergency ping to the port's medical AI. Response time 43 minutes. "Unacceptable. We'll make our own ER," he muttered, scooping Koleth up. The crowd parted, half fascinated, half fearful that whatever felled the Chkora woman might be contagious. Bay C-17 housed a battered family shuttle, its port hatch yawning. Inside, dim cabin lights flickered over crates of homeworld spices and woven fabrics. On the floor lay a tall Chkora female, skin splotched midnight blue, dorsal frills limp. Elias knelt, scanning, shallow ventilation gill movement, one heart fluttering arrhythmically, the other silent. Pupils fixed. A med tag at her wrist flashed crimson. Diabetic analog deficiency? No, Chkora physiology used sugar-bonded silicates. Elias thumbed her carotid node, felt nothing. He unpacked his field kit, autoinfuser, portable defib, spectrum antibiotics, and a row of polyspecies nanoshunts he'd bartered for last month. He spoke to Koleth without looking away from the patient. "Stay near the hatch. Keep talking so she hears your voice." Koleth obeyed, voice quivering as he sang a soft tritone lullaby. Elias slammed an infusion cannula into the mother's brachial vein, flushing crystalloid to stabilize blood volume, then deployed the nanoshunts, programmable microbots that patch vascular lesions. His scanner flagged a systemic toxin, neurosilicate inhibitor 37B, common in illicit mining operations on Chkora moons. Exposure shuts down secondary heart, then the primary. "What were you transporting?" Elias asked. Koleth blinked. "Just spices and, my mother works or refineries between runs." That explained it. Mining dust had saturated her respirator filters. Slow poisoning. Elias swapped respirator cartridges, then triggered the portable defib, twin paddles custom set for Chkora biocurrent. Shock. The second heart kicked once, faltered. Shock again. Rhythm stabilized at 50 beats per minute. Koleth gasped. Elias exhaled. But the toxin still choked her capillaries. He loaded the last of his broad-spectrum antidote nanites, praying their algorithms could parse alien biochemistry fast enough. Minutes crawled. The mother's color shifted from indigo to faint emerald. She coughed, clicks rasping through her double larynx. Koleth bolted to her side. "Mama." Her fingers twitched, finding his. She whispered something in Chkori that translated to little star, still shining. Elias allowed himself a tight smile, battlefield composure cracking for just a heartbeat. But his wrist pad pinged, quarantine drone inbound. Port Authority had finally noticed biological risk. If they flagged the shuttle, automatic lock seals would condemn it mid-dock, trapping mother and child for bureaucratic dissection. Elias snapped shut his kit. We need to move her to my clinic cubicle, away from drones. Koleth nodded, eyes wide with trust. Elias rigged a hover sled from cargo pallets and anti-grav lifters. Together, he and Koleth guided the still groggy mother through back corridors. Sirens hooped in distant bays, drones canvassing. Elias's mind raced. Fines, license suspension, possible imprisonment for obstructing quarantine. He pushed anyway. Compassion outpaced catastrophe, he reminded himself. His clinic was a rented storage unit outfitted with surplus biopods. He eased the mother, Venara Koleth supplied, into a pod and initiated detox algorithms. Readouts climbed from red to orange. Stabilizing. Koleth clung to Elias's sleeve. Will she live? I'm not leaving until she's dancing, Elias said. Koleth's laugh, a bright trinote, filled the tiny space. Hours passed. Detox nanites neutralized inhibitor fragments. Venara's dual heart synchronized, her dorsal frills regained golden luster. Finally, she opened her eyes fully, focusing on Elias. You human. Her English was accented but clear. You saved me. Elias shrugged. Your kid saved you. I just answered the call. He stepped aside so Koleth could crawl onto the pod edge. Mother and son chirred in their native register, tearful relief shimmering. A loud clank outside shattered the reunion. The clinic door slid open, Lieutenant Brax of Port Security strode in, flanked by drones. Dr. Hart. You've interfered with a quarantine sweep. Elias wiped his brow. Patient stable, non-contagious. Toxin was environmental. He offered the diagnostic slate. Brax skimmed it. Protocol still requires detainment pending review. Drones advanced. Koleth yelped, shielding his mother. Venara tried to sit, frills quivering. Elias stepped between them and the drones. Then detain me. Their visas are valid. She needs rest, not a cell. Brax's eyes narrowed. You'll accept liability? Yes, Elias said firmly. All of it. Minutes later, Brax left with only a stern warning. Present full toxicology proof within 48 hours or face sanction. Elias sagged, but then felt a small hand slip into his. Koleth. You stayed, the boy whispered. Everyone else ran. Elias knelt, meeting his gaze. Sometimes one is enough. As dawn's artificial glow lit the port windows, Venara sat up, strength returning. She reached for Elias's hand. We have little to give human, but Chkora tradition honors life debt. She removed a thin circlet from her wrist, woven metal with pulsating gemstones. Token of House Viner. Present it on any Chkora world, and you'll have allies. Elias tried to protest, but she pressed it into his palm. Koleth beamed. Your family now. He swallowed. In all his drifting years across the frontier, he'd never needed family, until maybe now. Then I'll wear it with pride. Outside, ship horns sounded. The galaxy still roared indifferent. But within the clinic, 3 hearts, 2 Chkora, 1 human, beat in quiet harmony. Elias began drafting the toxicology report, but he sensed the story wasn't over. Helping them might draw unwelcome attention from the mining syndicates that let workers die rather than pay for safety measures. If power feared compassion, then compassion would have to fight. Elias glanced at Koleth, who practiced counting in standard beside his recovering mother, and felt resolve steal inside him. In 48 hours, he'd deliver proof, and maybe spark an inquiry that could save countless miners. One desperate cry in a crowded port had become a lifeline stretching across worlds. And Elias Hart promised himself he would never let it snap. Lieutenant Brax's warning echoed in Elias Hart's ears long after the security team marched out. 48 hours to produce irrefutable toxicology proof or face sanction, seizure of his medical license, and possible imprisonment for obstructing quarantine. In the cramped clinic cubicle, the humming biopods and faint antiseptic scent were a fragile sanctuary, but outside those thin composite walls the port's bureaucracy was sharpening its knives. Elias glanced at Koleth, who had fallen asleep curled in a corner chair, the flicker of a holovid casting gentle light across his jade-green skin. In the recovery pod Venara slept too, respiration steady, her paired hearts pulsing in healthy asynchronous cadence. He exhaled, shoulders tight, and turned to his portable biochemistry rig. First step, prove that neurosilicate inhibitor 37 became from Taurin Delta 43S mining consortium, not from smuggling or bioterror. If he could link the toxin to negligence, quarantine would lift automatically under Federation labor protection statutes, and mother and child could depart without further harassment. Easier said than done. The rig wasn't calibrated for Chikora biomarkers beyond basic cardiac panels. Elias rummaged through boxes of spare lenses and nanotiter plates, jury-rigging adapters while the station's internal chronometer ticked away precious minutes. He pushed through fatigue, hands moving on instinct as memory surfaced. Field hospitals during the Phobos insurrection, night stitching Marines by flashlight while artillery shook the ground. Back then he'd hacked surplus med scanners to run alien blood types under fire. He could do it again. By mid-shift he had a half-functional tox spectrometer pulsing with lavender light, ingesting microsamples of Venara's blood. Algorithms crawled, comparing molecular signatures to public medical databases. Hours passed. The progress bar crawled. Elias sipped synthcaf, refusing to let his eyelids droop. Small orange diamond, small orange diamond, small orange diamond. With 14 hours remaining, a dull clang rattled the clinic door. Elias jolted, expecting drones, but the silhouette belonged to someone shorter, broader. His friend Rena Vasco, quartermaster of the Salvage Guild. She stepped inside, grease stains on her coveralls, eyes sharp beneath a fringe of magenta hair. "Heard you stirred the hornet nest," she said, brandishing a data slate. "Brought gifts." Elias sagged with relief. "I need access to the consortium's environmental records, air filter logs, toxin inventories, anything that ties Inhibitor 37B to their refineries." Rena smirked. "Already hacked the maintenance servers. Got particulate readouts from the last 6 cycles, levels off the charts." She handed him the slate. "Admit it, you missed my black hat magic." Desperately he muttered, scrolling through timestamps that matched Venara's work shifts. "Proof." He met Rena's gaze. "Thank you." She shrugged. "You save junkers like me from tetanus. I pull corporate skeletons from closets. Symbiosis." Her smile softened when she spotted Koleth sleeping. "Cute kid." He watched half the port look away. "Then let's make sure nobody can look away again." Small orange diamond, small orange diamond, small orange diamond. 10 hours left. Elias integrated Rena's records with his toxicology reads, red lines converging on a damning conclusion. Refinery air systems had failed days earlier, workers were exposed to lethal inhibitor dust, management suppressed alerts. He formatted the evidence packet, signed with his medical encryption key, then routed duplicates to Federation Labor Safety, Port Authority Oversight, and, most dangerously, the Torin Daily Beacon, a newsfeed famous for incendiary exposés. Sending it felt like detaching a grenade's pin. Within minutes, Beacon editorials splashed headlines across every hall holoprojector: port miners poisoned, corporate cover-up. Dockworkers stopped to stare, traders cursed, security channels crackled. Elias knew the consortium would retaliate, but they'd now have to do it under scrutiny. 6 hours left. Venara stirred, eyes focusing on Elias. "Koleth?" she rasped. He hurried over, adjusting the pod's incline. "He's safe sleeping. Your blood work looks good." She studied him, gratitude shimmering in gold-flecked irises. "You endanger yourself for us." "I took an oath," he answered. And he hesitated, surprised by the weight in his chest. "I care." Venara's frills flushed warm amber, a Chikora sign of affection. Words unspoken passed between them. Before they could settle, the clinic lights flickered crimson, an alarm chimed. External feed displayed a squad of corporate security in gray-silver body armor marching down the corridor, plasma batons in hand. Consortium strike team, not Port Authority. They weren't here for dialogue. Elias killed the overheads, plunging the clinic into shadows lit only by the biopods. He shook Koleth awake, finger to lips. "Hide inside diagnostic alcove." Silent. Koleth, wide-eyed but brave, obeyed, crouching behind an imaging drum. Elias keyed Rena on comms. "Need extraction route, corporate goons inbound." Rena's voice crackled. "Service duct 1 level down. Hatch code 9 gamma. Move now." Elias disengaged Venara's pod from the wall, switching it to gravsled mode. The hinges hissed as medical cables retracted. Venara, weak but conscious, gripped his wrist. "I can walk." She swung slender legs over the edge, wobbled, but steadied as he wrapped an arm around her waist. Together they nudged into the narrow rear hallway, Koleth scuttling behind. A thudding fist hammered the clinic's main door. "Open up. Corporate health inspection." Elias ignored the barked order, hustling down a maintenance ladder into dim belly corridors humming with coolant pipes. The clatter of armored boots echoed above. Koletha's small hand found his, squeezing. Fear radiated from the child, yet determination too. Vinara whispered in her tongue, calming her son. At Duct 9 Gamma Rena waited, prying cover plates with a plasma torch. Hurry. She eyed Vinara's pallor. Can she manage a crawl? Vinara answered by climbing into the duct first, jaw clenched. Elias boosted Koleth after her, then slithered in last. Rena sealed the grate and diverged down another passage, a decoy to mislead pursuers. The crawlspace felt endless, tight, damp, laced with dust that coated tongues and lungs. Elias reminded himself patients in pop-up field hospitals had endured worse. He pushed the sled of emergency supplies ahead, knees scraping metal. Koletha's whispered counting echoed to maintain courage. 1 star, 2 star, 3 star. When the clamor of boots finally faded, relief came like cool air. They emerged near the starship docks. Before them towered the battered hull of Aurora's Mercy, an old medical frigate Elias once crewed. Decommissioned months earlier, it awaited scrappers. Rena's voice pinged again, snuck clearance codes into your wrist pad. Mercy's engines can still burn if you bypass the failsafe. Perfect. Koleth tugged Elias's sleeve. Are we stealing a ship? Borrowing, Elias corrected with a wry smile. Returning it once this mess clears. Vinara scanned the bay. What of your clinic? Your life here? My life is where I help people, he answered. Right now, that's with you. Her frills glowed brighter. Small orange diamond, small orange diamond, small orange diamond. Inside Mercy's bridge, dust motes floated like tiny comets in flashlight beams. Elias powered auxiliary systems. Consoles flickered to life. He initiated a cold start engine cycle, fingers dancing over familiar keys. Gravimetric thrusters hummed. Dock control hailed instantly. Unauthorized activation of decommissioned vessel. Identify. Elias transmitted a forged transponder ID courtesy of Rena, medical evacuation drill, authorization Delta 1. Static silence, then grudging clearance codes arrived. Rena's hacking handiwork again. Dock clamps released. Mercy drifted from berth, external cams revealing corporate securities spilling into the bay too late, plasma batons waving futilely. Koleth cheered, a tri-note chord of joy. But escape was only half the battle. Elias plotted a microjump to Lagrange point K4, outside immediate jurisdiction yet within range of Federation relay satellites. While NAV computer calculated, he installed password locks on all hatches, then patched into intersector net to monitor fallout. News feeds blazed, worker strike triggered, port authorities launching formal investigation, consortium stock plummeting. His evidence had ignited a firestorm. Koleth handed him a nutrient bar. For strength, the boy said solemnly. Elias ruffled his hair. Doctor's orders, you eat too. Vinara joined them in the cramped galley, walking steadier now. She reached for Elias's hand across the table. Chikora vows are spoken not with words but shared pulse. She placed his hand over her left heart, then moved her palm to his chest, feeling his heartbeat. The moment stretched, tender and electric. Elias swallowed. I've been drifting a long time. You and Koleth gave me direction. He turned to the boy. If your mother agrees, I'd like to travel with you, to see your ocean moons, to set up clinics where miners suffer in silence. Vinara's frills shimmered rose gold, the Chikora color of deep affection. Our path is yours. House Viner will welcome you. Klaxons blared, NAV computer finished calculations. Elias guided Mercy beyond the station's gravity well. Stars elongated, then snapped back as they exited hyperspace at K4. Here, in the hush of deep space, they were safe for the moment. Small orange diamond, small orange diamond, small orange diamond. Over the next 2 days, Elias treated Vinara's lingering symptoms while drafting legal affidavits for worker tribunals. Koleth explored every corridor, turning abandoned sickbays into play forts. Laughter echoed where pain once lingered. The old frigate felt alive again. A secure comm burst from Lieutenant Brax finally arrived. Dr. Hart, investigation concluded. Your toxicology evidence confirmed. Quarantine lifted. Consortium executives detained. You and your passengers are cleared to return under full immunity. Relief crashed over Elias, mingled with triumph. He forwarded the message to Rena, who replied with fireworks emojis and, drinks on me when you're back. He faced Vinara and Koleth on the bridge, starlight bathing them in silver. Home? He asked softly. Home, Vinara echoed. But she touched the pendant circling her wrist, the life debt token. Not to Chikora Prime yet. First, Tauran workers need a voice. Your clinic could become a real hospital. Consortium assets are frozen, their confiscated medbays require oversight.
Elias grinned.
Let's turn their greed into healing. They set course for Torin Delta 43, arriving to find the station transformed. Banners of solidarity hung above cargo lanes. Miners and respirators marched peacefully. Hollow news reporters swarmed. Lieutenant Brax personally greeted them, crisp uniform replaced by genuine respect. Dr. Mrs. Viner, young Koleth, welcome back. On behalf of the Port Authority, thank you. We've allocated you temporary command of Medical Sector B. Elias's pulse quickened.
A whole wing. Supplies. Staff.
He glanced at Venara. She nodded, pride in her gaze. Small orange diamond, small orange diamond, small orange diamond. 6 months later, Torin Delta 43's once indifferent corridors rang with new purpose. Wards buzzed with doctors of every species, funded by consortium reparations.
Air filters gleamed.
Children played in common gardens irrigated by reclaimed water systems. At the heart of it stood Clinic Vinerhart, its logo intertwining a Terran caduceus with a Jkora double helix. Inside the pediatric wing, Elias adjusted Koletha's volunteer badge. Ready for translator duty? The boy, now fluent in 3 human dialects, grinned. Always, Dr. Dad. Elias's heart swelled at the nickname. Down the hall, Venara conducted physical therapy for convalescent miners, her frills a calm beacon. She caught Elias's eye, and in that silent exchange the chaos of the past faded, leaving only gratitude. That evening, under the transparent dome of the refurbished observation deck, the 3 of them shared a meal. Stars glittered like scattered gemstones. Cargo lanes thrummed with honest commerce. Koleth leaned against Venara's side, half asleep. She stroked his hair and whispered, "Little star, still shining." Elias watched the boy's eyelids flutter, then met Venara's gaze.
"You saved me too," he murmured. "I was drifting, remember?"
She reached across the table, placing his hand over her left heart once more. "Now we drift together, guided by the pulse of those we help." He matched her gesture, palm to his chest, and felt their rhythm synchronize, a quiet vow stronger than any bureaucratic seal. Around them the station hummed with life restored, a testament to one desperate cry and one human's answer. And though the galaxy remained vast and indifferent, in this corner compassion had carved out a realm of its own, where an alien mother lived, a child laughed, and a doctor finally found home.